So at what age did you first become involved with wrestling?
I started watching it when I was really, really young. I have memories of like with my dad and my little brother, like watching like, Saturday morning main event and things like that. But I didn't actually start wrestling until I was 15.
Right.
Yeah, when I was 15 years old, like me and a bunch of my buddies would do it in my backyard and stuff like that. But nothing crazy like you see, no light tubes or anything like that. It was just us and some mattresses and like just suplexes and stone cold stunners and rock bottoms and
what all
things.
teenagers do,
Yeah, just exactly what teenagers do.
Yeah.
So that's how I started. And when I was in high school, I was a real big athlete. I played football, I played basketball, and right before those seasons started, I tore my Achilles. So when I was just messing around in the summer with my friends playing football, like on the grass, and I missed all of training camp. I missed all the training camps.
Right.
I couldn't do it. My foot was healed. I went back to my coaches. I was like, I'm ready to go, and they're like, you can't. Like, season full swing. So if you're an athlete or you're just an active child or anybody, like you just can't sit still. You can't sit at home. You need something to do. So I begged my parents to let me become a pro wrestler, and they said no.
Most parents do, yeah.
Yeah, they said no, and then I kept bugging them, and then finally they said, if you can find a school that's relatively close, you can go. I guess they thought, in no way could I find a school, and I found one like within 24 hours. And it wasn't the best school. It was a really shitty school in Yonkers, New York, where I was giving this guy $15 once a week on Sundays, and I would just bump in a boxing ring, and it was really bad. And there was no structure or whatever. It was literally like paying $15 to play in a ring for 2 straight years. I learned nothing besides a back bump and a front bump. So that's why I stress to people that it's very important to find a good training school, because, and then after that I went to another training school that just took my money until I found Chikara Pro, the Wrestle Factory. So for the first 3 years of my wrestling life, I was just being ripped off, and people just taking my money. And I was not only was I not learning anything, I was hurting my body in the process, taking years off my bump card in my career just because I wanted to be a wrestler. And I don't regret it, because I was happy as a teenager doing it. But looking back, I wish I would have found a more reputable school like the Wrestle Factory.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on in the UK at the moment about wrestling schools, and good ones and bad ones.
It's very very far and few in between. Just anybody who thinks that they know what they're doing is going to open up a school, and that doesn't mean that they know what they're doing. And I'm very grateful for Mike Quackenbush and Chris Hero and Claudio Castagnoli for help training me, and Scott Rivera, because not only did they help train me, like they were like, oh, we can get you on this show, and that's where you learn. Like you learn in front of a crowd and stuff like that. And, we would do these shows, like they'd be in front of 10, 15 people, whatever, but it's the experience, and they were very helpful and grateful. I could call them at any hour of the night, even if I had to see, hey Chris, I forgot how to transfer to this wrist lock, it's been bugging me all night, and like he'll answer, and it was cool. So
that's awesome.
And that's just having great trainers and guys who love the craft, and they want to help you. They're not just out to take your money. There's a big difference between guys who do this because they love it and want to help the professional wrestling world and business by putting new stars out there, and guys that just want to take your money. And it's very important to find the difference between the two. Yeah,
that's wonderful. Thank you. Who was your childhood hero then, and how did he influence how you chose to wrestle, your style?
When I was a kid, when I was like a really, really little kid, I was like everybody else. I loved, like Hogan. I really liked the Ultimate Warrior. I thought he was the coolest. I thought he was the coolest dude alive. I really liked the Ultimate Warrior. But I remember like that, when you're a kid you watch that and you think it's great, and then I remember when I got into more of like I saw the Rockers, and I was like, that's really that's athletic. And then you have guys like the 1-2-3 Kid, who it was just so cool to watch. And there was I'll never forget the story. I was in grade school, I was young, and a friend of mine, his name was Gregory, he knew I loved wrestling. He's like, oh, you know, like he didn't really like it, but he knew I loved wrestling. You know, I'd come in wearing my Undertaker t-shirt, my Razor Ramon t-shirt with the razors all over the place, you know. And he was like, yo, you know, I found this thing. This wrestling is real. These guys do real wrestling. I'm like, what? He's like, at midnight every Saturday on MSG, there's this group called ECW, and they do real wrestling. He's like, there's this guy, he hits people with VCRs. It's real. And it blew my mind. So Saturday night, everyone goes to bed. I come downstairs. The whole house is asleep. Turn on the TV. There's only cable in one room in my house. Walk downstairs, turn the TV really low, and ECW comes on. And I see the first thing, which is like a New Jack skit, and I'm like, what the fuck? And of course, I'm sorry, can I curse on this?
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
yeah,
and my dad came downstairs. He's like, what are you doing? I'm like, Dad, there's real wrestling on TV. He's like, it's not real. But I really got into ECW, and Rob Van Dam and Jerry Lynn were two guys that I watched, and I was like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Like, there are guys that I watched when I was a kid, like Warrior and Jake Roberts and Macho Man and guys like that who I was like, this is awesome. Like, I love watching this. And then there are guys like Rob Van Dam and Jerry Lynn who were guys that made me be like, I want to do this.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, that's, so to me, like, those guys inspired me to become a pro wrestler, because it was just like, it was so athletic and so amazing to watch. But to me, I was like, that looks like fun.
Yeah.
It looks like something I want to be a part of.
Yeah. But you can see it in the style of how you wrestle, so.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. So, when you became show ready after your training, how long were you sort of on the very small time in this circuit, up until like 20, 30 people, before you started making it into the bigger promotions?
My very first show for Chikara, like anything that I've done prior to Chikara, I don't count, because I feel like it wasn't professional. Like, what I was doing it wasn't at a professional level. It was very bush league. It was not looked at like wrestling should be looked at. You know, it was a scam or whatever it was. So I never look at anything I did prior to Chikara. But the stuff that I did Chikara, like, I think my first match ever was in front of maybe 15 people.
Right.
And what's so crazy to me is my very first match in Chikara, which was in the very first year of its existence, in front of 15 people. And now we just did WrestleCon, where we outdrew every promotion that was there by leaps and bounds. Like, it's amazing to see the company evolve like that, and I'm a part of that. So that's very cool. But to answer your question, it was years. And even to this day, like, sometimes I'll take a booking and I'll wrestle in front of, 30, 40 people, but it is what it is. There are times where, like tonight at Speed King, they're going to have a good crowd. Yeah. And at WrestleCon, you're going to have a good crowd. And last weekend, Chikara was in Chicago in Logan Square. And, like, you knew that was going to be great. Those fans are awesome. They're so loud and rowdy. And so it always fluctuates. You never leave that small scene and you're just instantly in the big scene unless you sign that contract with the WWE or you're full-time with TNA. Yeah. So you'll always have those shows here and there, but for the longest time, maybe like the first show that I had in front of a very decent-sized crowd might have been 3 years in.
Right. Yeah. That's pretty good going. You've already mentioned this guy. Chris Hero was one of your coaches. Mm-hmm. I spotted him when I was researching your career. He is a talent that I personally really admire massively. I'll never forget a match I saw him have over here when he toured with Noah, along with Claudio. How influential would you say Chris has been on your career, and would you like to follow in his footsteps into the WWE?
I think Chris has been extremely influential because he's one of the guys who just loves wrestling. He's so passionate about wrestling, and I consider Chris a really good friend of mine, and I know that because I can talk to him about things that aren't wrestling related. Like, if I have a really shitty day and I see that he's online, I'll shoot him an IM or something like that. Or, like, I'll shoot him a text or a phone call. And, like, he's always, like, he's always got words of wisdom. And he's always, like, he's just a great guy. But when it comes to wrestling, he's he's so smart. And, I did a training seminar here last night, and so one of the guys, I said to all the guys, I said, hey guys, where are your notebooks? Because you're here to learn, so you should take notes. And they all kind of looked at me the same way I looked at Chris Hero when he said, hey, where's your notebook? I was like, what? Why do I need a notebook? And he's 100% right, because not everything, you don't keep everything. Sometimes you lose it, and you have this to look back on. And if it wasn't for Chris, I wouldn't have a notebook full of all these things that him and Mike and Claudio and Jorge all taught me. So I really thank him for that, and just everything he's done. Like, he's got me on shows, that he was on. Like, just walk up to the promoter and just be like, hey, this is one of my students. Do you have any room for him? Like, just always sticking himself out there for us when he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to be like, yeah, you can tag along. He'll be like, yeah, tag along, hang out, make sure you bring your gear. Maybe I can pull some strings. And he does, and he did, and it was great. So I think Chris is extremely influential. I think he's a very good friend of mine, very big part of who I am. And I hope he is is happy I'm saying that. And they're like, oh no, this kid's a shit. Why is he saying my name? But I wish him nothing but success in the WWE. And knowing him, you just knew, like, it was only a matter of time. It was only a matter of time that guy was going to be there. A guy who has that drive and just loves wrestling, like, you can't hold him down for too long. And it's only a matter of time before he's on TV every week. Yeah. And just the whole world will see what I and anyone who had the privilege of watching him on an independent level know that he's one of the best. Yeah. And of course I'd love to go into the WWE. Like, that is, the big one. Yeah. And I love wrestling, and if I have the opportunity to wrestle all the time, like, why would I not take that? It's a dream job. If there's something that you love, doesn't matter what it is. Like, say, like, one of your favorite things is to cook, and you get that dream chef job, and you get to cook 5 days, 6 days a week. Like, that's your dream. That's what you want to do. Yeah. And, like, to me, like, wrestling is what I want to do. So to get the opportunity to do that on, like, a grand level like that would be just great. Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're recruiting more these days from the independent circuits. Yeah, they are. It seems to me. So that can only increase your chances. Yeah, hopefully. So today in Southside speaking event, your opponent is Martin Kirby. Now, I don't know how much you know about Mr. Kirby, but previously at Southside he used to fight under a mask, and he was known as Ego Dragon. And then he lost his mask when he had a no ropes match with another Speed King contestant, El Ligero. Since then, Martin Kirby has been like a man possessed. He's been out, he's destroyed everybody and everything. So how aware of Kirby's work are you, and do you worry about facing him today, as he's destroyed everything in his path since he was amassed? I definitely am not worried about working with Kirby. And I do know a decent amount about him, because I knew that I was going to have this match about a month and a half ago. So, of course, I'm going to look him up. I'm going to look up on YouTube. I'm going to see all this stuff, And I think he's great. I think he's a really great talent, and he's definitely someone I'm excited. This is my UK debut, and I think it's great that I get to work with him on my UK debut. So, like I said, I think he's great. I think he's phenomenal. Like, the stuff that I watched of him, I was very excited to see. But no, I'm not fucking scared. Like, there are very few people I'd be terrified to step into a ring with, because this is what I do. This is the thing that I do best in the world is inside that ring. And I feel when I'm at my best, it's very hard for people to touch me. And I don't think that that's going to be him today.
Right, okay, fair enough. How do you think your career would be affected if you were ever amassed?
I actually was unmasked for a bit when I was in Ring of Honor, and it didn't go very well. I feel that the mask itself is an identity. A lot of guys are just out there in trunks and, plain black trunks and kick pits, and they go out there and they have no character. And I think the mask is something that gives me a character, and it's something I'm very comfortable in. And I liked the idea that my mask would be removed. I don't like the way that it happened, and I don't like the way that it was handled after the fact. So I think because of all those factors, because of the way it was handled, and everything that happened after, I feel like I had a really shit time with it, and you could tell from my matches that I was not having fun, and I was very upset and very just lethargic in the ring. I think I was wrestling for what's probably the biggest of the independent companies, if you even want to call Ring of Honor independent anymore. In the States, I was wrestling for Ring of Honor. It was a huge platform for me, and I just didn't care. Yeah. I hated it. I was not having fun. And if you're not having fun doing what you love, like, there's a problem there. Yeah. And I really made me hate pro wrestling. I was really like, I don't want to do this anymore. There's a point in my Ring of Honor career where I was like, I'm just going to quit. Cool, okay. I just don't want to do this anymore. And then I had got in touch with my Quackabush again, and me and him spoke, and I was just like, I want to put my mask back on. I hate this. And he was like, yeah, let's do it. So I think if my mask would ever be removed again due to the right circumstances and everything like that, I think it could be a good thing. But we did do a trial run, and I wouldn't say it was all one person's fault, but due to a group effort, it was handled very piss poorly. And if the right person had his hands on it, and I had even an ounce of say in it, I think it could go a lot better.
Right, okay, that's fair enough. What tips would you give? I mean, you kind of covered this already, but what tips would you give to young UK wrestlers making their way in order to aid them to make that step up, from the training ground up to...
Oh, what tips would I give?
Yeah.
I think the best advice I ever got in pro wrestling was sit there, shut up, keep your ears open. Listen. Yeah. Listen and listen and listen and listen and, ask questions. You're on a show, you got guys on the show been wrestling, like Jay Lethal's on the show today, and Jay's someone I admire a lot. I've been wrestling for 10 years, and Jay is currently doing a seminar in the ring, and I'm watching it, and I'm like, well, fuck, that's great, that's smart. I learned something today. He did something in the ring today that, he's teaching beginners, and I'm like, oh, wow, that's a really good way of doing that. And that's so you never stop learning.
Yeah.
Never think you're above the business, or I hate calling it the business. Never think that you're above this. Never think you're better than anyone else. Never think you're better than the next guy, and always continue to learn. The best advice that I can give anybody is you want this, right? You want to be a wrestler. This is what you want out of it. If you want to be the best, you can't be content. You have to keep working at it. You have to keep learning. You have to keep getting better. Just like anything in this world, you want a job, you have to build your resume up. You don't ever look at your resume and say, that's good enough. You should never strive for good enough. You should always strive for better and the best. And, if I'm on a show with someone like Jay, or if I'm on a show with Hero, or I'm on a show with Quack, after my match, I'll come to the back and I'll be like, hey, did you watch my match? Yeah, I got to see it. Do you have any advice? To this day, I'll ask for advice. Until my last match, I will ask for advice. Yeah. And everyone should, because you never stop learning, and you're never at the peak. Because even if you are the best wrestler in the world, even if you think that you're the best wrestler in the world, there might be something that you don't know that someone else knows. Yeah. Even if that person's on a lower level to you, in your mind, he may do something differently that you do that's better.
Yeah.
And if you want to be the best, you take that and you tweak it, and then you make it your own.
Yeah, it's great advice. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. When you first realised that you were going to receive a big time opportunity in Chikara, can you describe the feeling you had in your mind after all of those years of striving and wanting to live your dream, and then it came along?
With Chikara itself, I started from the bottom with them, because when I walked in the doors of Chikara was at the bottom. It was only a couple of months old. It wasn't even a year old, and we're charging $5 a ticket for 15 people to sit down and watch us wrestle. And 7 of them are friends and family.
Yeah.
And so I think the opportunity, to watch it grow and to watch it build and to think about what we did at High Noon and every King of Trios and you know, having at WrestleCon, like, it's really amazing because I feel like I am a part of this.
Yeah.
I helped this company grow, I helped this company build, and I know maybe if I wasn't there, that company would still grow because you have guys like Hollow Wicked and Icarus, you know, Ultra Mantis, you know, you have Eddie Kingston, you know, you have all these guys, you know, Grant Akuma, Mike Quackers, you have guys who...
Top talent, yeah.
It's not even, it's top talent. It's guys who want this. It's a team effort. No one's like, oh, well, I'm mad that I'm losing this guy. Oh, I'm mad I'm not on this show. Oh, you're like, no. It's, we want the product. We want Chikara itself to strive. Like, I put Chikara ahead of me, and I know every other guy on the roster puts Chikara ahead of me. And I know tonight when I go out there, I'll have my Chikara stuff. I know when I showed up, I brought my Chikara bag, and I brought 8 different Chikara t-shirts because I'm proud to be a part of Chikara. You know, it's my home base. I love it. So, it's not that I was wrestling on smaller shows and then I got into Chikara, which is a bigger event. I was with Chikara when they were smaller shows, and to watch Chikara become this big event.
Yeah.
Like, I know, for example, like when we did High Noon, we sold out the ECW arena. Like, it was
phenomenal.
Packed.
Yeah.
It was packed. Like, and me and El Generico were the first match that they got to see that day.
Yeah.
And just walking out there, you just stand there and just look around at all these people who believe in the product, and that fills you with joy. And I say this all the time. I said, we have, you know, other companies have fans, and we have our army. We have the Chikarmy, we call it. It's because our fans believe in the product just as much as we believe in the product, and they're just as much a part of our success as the guys who are in the ring, the guys building and breaking down the sets. Like, our fans help us move forward, and it's just awesome. It's so awesome.
It sounds awesome, actually.
It really is.
Yeah.
It really is. It's, you know, I go to other shows and stuff like that, and some of them don't have the feel that a Chikara show. You know, some of them do.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of guys have really good locker rooms. You know, I think Ring of Honor is one of the best locker rooms. Everyone's very friendly with each other. Yeah. It's not very cutthroat, which is just like Chikara. It's not cutthroat. It's a team effort.
Yeah.
And it's great.
Well, it's the best way for a company to grow, isn't it?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah, fantastic. What has been your personal favourite all-time match? One that you've been involved in?
One that I've been involved in?
Yeah.
I really don't have a personal all-time favorite because I hate everything I do. I hate all my matches.
Why do you hate them?
Because I always think they could be better. I'll always watch a match and I'll be like, I should have done this, or I should have done that. But like for example, like when there's a match with myself, El Generico, Nick Jackson, and Kota Ibushi from the 2009 King of Trios, which got so much praise. It's a match that everybody loves, and it was right after I'd left Ring of Honor and hated pro wrestling, and I hated pro wrestling, and Mike knew I was upset and down in the dumps, and he's like, I got a match that's gonna cheer you up. And even calling the match with the guys, like I was just kind of like, yeah, we'll do this stuff. And then out there, and the atmosphere, and the people, it made me love pro wrestling again. So even though I don't love what I did in that particular match, I feel like I could have done more, I could have done better, I could have chosen my spots and areas better. I feel like out of the 4 guys that were in that match, I was outshined by all of them. Out of the 4 of us, the 3 of them outshined me easily by leaps and bounds, I feel personally. So in that regard, about that match. But to me, that's a match that made me love pro wrestling again. Because after that match, I said, I only want to be better. Yeah. I want to do what Nick did. I want to do what Generico did. I want to do what Ibushi did. So it made me want to be better. And even though I don't think that was my best match, it's one that I really hold near and dear because it made me love pro wrestling again.
It's like the turning point, getting you back.
Yes, exactly. You know, I went from loving pro wrestling, loathing it to the point where I wanted to quit, to loving it again. Because that match reminded me that I didn't get into pro wrestling to make money. I didn't get into pro wrestling to become famous or become a superstar. I got into pro wrestling because I love pro wrestling. And it's fun.
Yeah.
And it's something that brings out the kid in me, you know, and it made me realize that all over again. So I love that match for that sole purpose.
Yeah.
But if you want me to tell you what my favorite match is, because I feel like I did really good in it, I don't have one because I...
That's all right. No, that was a brilliant answer anyway. It's a great insight. If you could wrestle anybody of any era, whether they're still alive or whether they're no longer with us, who would that be? Your personal dream match?
My personal dream match would be against Rob Van Dam, because to me, like, that was a dude I idolized when I was a kid. I'm 15 years old, you know, waiting online to get Rob Van Dam's autograph, you know, like, so to me, like, that would be my dream match. I mean, I remember someone asked me this question maybe like 2 or 3 years ago, and my answer was Jushin Liger, and I got to wrestle Jushin Liger, and
right.
And it's so intimidating to wrestle a legend like that. And then, like, he's the coolest dude on the planet. He's so cool, and he's joking around, and he's playing games, and, like, he's just happy to be there. And then after the match, he's so super cool and nice and awesome, and, like, that's the kind of stuff, like, when you meet your heroes, and they're not assholes, and they're awesome, that's really cool to me. And Jushin Liger was awesome. So, a couple of years ago, I had said Jushin Liger, because I thought that I'd never get that opportunity, and I did. And it was awesome. But Rob Van Dam would probably be my next answer. Yeah. Because like I said, like, I watched Rob Van Dam versus Jerry Lynn, and I said, that's what I want to do. Yeah. You know?
I'm not sure what RVD is doing at the moment. He's left TNA, hasn't he? So
yeah, he's left TNA. Left TNA.
So I'm not sure whether he's wrestling at all at the moment. I don't know.
He's wrestling in Queens, New York for FWE on June 21st against Tommy Dreamer. I'm on the same card. It's myself and Tony Nese versus Young Bucks. That's a really good card. I know everyone here is listening from the UK, so you probably can't watch it. But that will be live on iPay-per-view. So FWE, check that out. It's going to be really good.
Right,
that's my cheap plug.
That's fine. So, as you say, it's your first visit to the UK. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate you've not been here that long. But with the time that you have been here, and I know you did a seminar last night, what's your gut feeling about the UK scene? Do you feel like it's a happening scene, building up? The professionalism of how you've been treated by the people you dealt with so far?
Yeah, last night I did a seminar here with excuse me. I did a seminar here last night with the guys from House of Pain, with Styx, and I gotta say Styx is great, and all his students are just phenomenal. Like, they showed me the utmost respect. Yeah. They were very eager to learn, and even some of the things that I showed them that were very complicated that they couldn't do. That didn't stop them from taking notes and wanting to learn, and even some of the guys that I ran into today, like, hey, can I ask you a question? Hey, and of course I'm here, for that. And so far, and with Ben, who runs Southside, Jesus Christ, good Lord, is he amazing. He's breaking his ass for me, picking me up from the airport, chauffeuring me around, like, showing me all this stuff. And it's guys like Ben from Southside and Styx, who runs House of Pain, that they're just such good guys, that you're like, there's hope for wrestling, there's, because sometimes you'll have one promoter or one shitty school that can give, like, a whole area a shit name and vibe, and I don't feel that way at all. I feel like this is exactly what you want. Like, this is great. Like, Southside's great. Ben has been amazing. The Styx and, like, his students have been great. So I'm having a ball right now. I went to what is it, ASD? It's like a kind of like a Walmart you guys have, like a big.
Oh, Esther.
Yeah. I just went there. Yeah. You would have thought where I was. I was walking around like an awe. I thought everything was so cool. And I'm just thrilled to be here.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, we think it's growing rapidly, and there's more and more promoters like Ben all around the country.
Good, that's what you need. You need more guys like Ben.
Yeah, that's right. And also in terms of Styx and the House of Pain, I mean, they've got a reputation of being one of the country's best.
Yeah, but it shows from his guys last night. Yeah, it shows.
Yeah, but there's more and more around the country, and we've got a movement going on in the UK to eliminate the shitty schools that you referenced earlier. So, we're sort of naming and shaming them. So, so hopefully we're going in the right direction. I don't know how much of the UK scene you have seen, and like you mentioned, you've seen Martin Kirby before coming over. Is there a UK guy that you have seen at any point that you thought to yourself, yeah, that guy has got it, or he could make it, right to the very, very top?
Yeah, I've seen Haskins before, obviously, and he's phenomenal. Zack Sabre Jr. is so good. Like these guys, there are a lot of guys out there. And tonight will be the first time I get to see a lot of guys.
Yeah.
I watched a match with Ligero versus Akira Tozawa that I thought was phenomenal between the two of them. So yeah, there's a ton of talent here that I'm not sure the world knows about. Like guys in the U.S., indie fans in the States. I don't know if they know a lot of these. I know they know about Zach, because he comes over and he's done stuff for Chikara and he's done Evolve and he's done CZW stuff. I think he's done CZW. And you got guys like Haskins who did TNA and Spud and Skrull who were just at the boot camp. So people know that there's talent here. Yeah. But I don't think they know like guys like Ligero who like I said, I only watched his stuff because I was just talking to Tozawa and he told me about this dude he worked, and I was like, I'll check I'll check it out. Like Tozawa's great. I love Tozawa, and if Tozawa's happy with a match. Yeah. I went and gave it a look-see, and it's great. Yeah. So there's definitely guys, and I know there are guys tonight that I've never seen before that I'm excited to see.
Yeah, I mean, you're in for a treat. I mean, two guys in particular, Noam Dar and Robbie X, the current Speed King champion, both teenagers, unbelievable talent.
I heard the Dar's working with Jay. Tonight. So look forward to that.
Yeah, I've seen him have a match with Davey Richards in the past.
I heard a lot about him. So I'm excited to watch it.
Yeah. Do you feel it's better for the business, or whatever you want to call it, in terms of the bigger promotions, if the talent has a background and an experience of wrestling, like yourself, going through the circuits, rather than someone of a particular build, who's then moulded into a sports entertainer performer? So I'm kind of thinking of how WWE really sort of build their product.
I'm not really sure. So if a bigger promotion has like a name talent, is that what you're saying to me? Or?
Yeah, what I mean is, for example, with mainly the WWE, I'm referring to. Recently they came over here and they scattered some talent, and they looked at a number of the UK guys who've been wrestling for many years, just like yourself over in America, top talents. And they also had some really big, muscular guys who have never wrestled but play professional rugby over here. And they took the professional rugby players back over to the WWE, but not any of our proven wrestlers. So, I mean, in terms of the future of the business, I mean, I sense generally, as I mentioned earlier, they are moving more and more towards taking on independent workers. But
I think, it's a little bit of both. Yeah. There are guys who never wanted to be a pro wrestler. Like, that wasn't their thing. For example, you have a guy like Brock Lesnar who, to my knowledge, he wasn't like, one day I'm going to be a pro wrestler. But he wasn't, a collegiate guy, is just so talented. And someone was like, hey, there's money to be made with this guy because he's an athlete. And to me, Brock Lesnar's amazing. He's great. He's a top draw. Yeah, and he's just an athletic freak. And if it wasn't for someone being like, there's raw talent here, let's mold this and make this, we'd have one less megastar in pro wrestling. But to the same degree, you have a guy like Bryan Danielson and CM Punk who broke their ass through the indies, and now they're up there and they're making money. So it's a double-edged sword, because then sometimes you'll get a guy, and I don't want to name names, but you'll get a guy who is a football player and he's just a jacked up guy and he just can't put on a wrist lock, or he's just the shits, and then you put that guy on TV and you wonder why he flounders. So to me, it's a double-edged sword, because I feel like you need guys like that, because you need that larger than life. I know a lot of people said the indie scene, some of the more talented guys, some of the big names, the indie scene wrestlers have shrunk, they say. It's not like the days of the Warlord and the Barbarian and Warrior and Hogan and Andre. Like, there aren't these huge, massive guys that larger than life, feel. Now it's more of like an athletic side. You got a guy like Evan Bourne, you got Punk, you got Bryan, but there is that exception with Antonio Cesaro Claudio, who's just an all-around athletic freak. Like, he's, to me, that's the best wrestler on the planet. And I could be biased. I could be a little biased. So to me, it's a double-edged sword because I feel like you need that because you need variety. You can't have all of one thing. You can't have all, like tonight we have Speed King. We have an all-cruiserweight show, and that's awesome. But you can't have Speed King every month.
Yeah.
Because people are like, I've seen that.
Yeah.
I've seen that. But if you have a Flyers match and a Brawlers match, and then you have these guys who are just these big, large enough guys who can go out there and put on a show, that's what you get. Like, I think, again, like a guy like John Cena, who I think a lot of people criticize because it's cool to criticize John Cena. No, the guy's awesome. He's at the top of the business for a reason. He's the top guy in pro wrestling for a reason. Everyone's like, oh, he only does 4 moves. Well, he does 4 moves, and he does those 4 moves very well. Would you rather him do 10 moves and 4 of them be good and 6 of them be the shits? And then you complain about that. And I don't think he was ever like, I'm going to be a pro wrestler. I think he was another example. Like I said, I could be wrong. But I think he was another example of a guy who someone was like, hey, we could make something out of you. And they did. And
I think he was a powerlifter or something.
Yeah, and because of him, like after the Attitude Era where people think things kind of floundered, I think John Cena put pro wrestling on his back. And he moved it forward, So it's weird that people give him shit. So yeah, it's a double-edged sword. You need guys like that. You need the guys who came through the system, like workhorses, like Brett and Sean in their day, and guys who travel the roads, like Austin and now you have Punk and Bryan, and then you need those guys, and you need those bigger guys. Like you need the Hogans, and you need the Cenas, and you need the Lesnars.
Yep.
So that's my stance on that.
That's fair enough. And finally, is being a wrestler what you dreamed it would be like when you started out at 15? And you've kind of answered this on what is your ultimate aim in the business, and where do you picture yourself being in a couple of years' time?
When I first started wrestling, when I was 15 years old, I don't think I ever had a vision of what it would be. I think when I was 15, when I was wrestling, in that very moment was what I envisioned pro wrestling. And then I went to bed, and the only thing I could think about was not where I was going to wrestle 10 years from now. It was waking up the next day and wrestling again. And then the next day was just, again, wrestling again. So when I was 15 years old, it was never like, one day I'm going to be WWE champion. When I was 15 years old, it was like, in 6 hours, me and my friends are going to have the fucking time of our lives. And then I'm laying in bed, and I'm sitting in math class, and I'm like, this is a shit, because, in a couple hours, this is what I want to be doing. So to me, I never really envisioned where I would be. I kind of took it day by day. And when I first got into wrestling, I knew that I was never going to be the biggest guy. And during the Attitude Era, when I was, that boom era, that's when you had, like, these huge guys like Triple H and Austin and Rock. So was I like, yeah, maybe one day I could be in WWE? Of course I did. But, like, I don't think I ever thought that I'd get that far just based on the criteria of that time. And I knew, like, there are shortcuts to that I knew I would never be able to do in a million years. I just don't think I have the stomach for stuff like that. But so I always knew that I wanted to be a pro wrestler and have fun. And then as I started doing more and more stuff with Chikara, I remember saying, like, man, if only I could wrestle in, like 10 states. If I could get out of the tri-state area, that'd be cool. Oh man, if only I could wrestle on the West Coast, that'd be cool. Oh man, it'd be so cool if I could wrestle in Chicago. Shit, you know how awesome it'd be if I could to wrestle in Mexico? It'd be so cool if I could wrestle in Japan. So each time, like, like my expectations, like they grew a little bit and a little bit and a little bit, and like now I've just done stuff with TNA, and I've been in talks with them again to come back, and I think that's really cool. And who knows, maybe that will fall through and they'll tell me that I'm not what they're looking for, or maybe I'll say to myself, maybe TNA is not what I'm looking for, and then I'll move forward. And then, so I never really have a plan of where I'm going to go. I'm just extremely excited to be where I'm. Like today, like I'm in England.
Yeah.
Good Lord, I have friends and family who are jealous that I get to travel the world and have fun with my friends every weekend. Every weekend I get to travel. I was in Chicago last weekend. The weekend before I was in Georgia, North Carolina. You know, like I was in Florida not that long ago. I'm in England today. Like, shit, this is amazing. Like I have a great life. And I'm very thrilled and happy. So I'm not really looking so far into the future as much as I'm just so excited to be where I am today.
Yeah, that's brilliant. All right, thank you. Thank you so much for your time.
Hey, thank you.
And good luck for your match later.
Thank you very much.
All right, cheers.
Cheers.